Well, I'm in Minot, North Dakota. This is just 100 miles south of the Canadian border. We're about probably 4.5 hours from Fargo. I left Fargo at 7 local time, and my first stop was in Carrington. So I went west on 94, and then just before Bismarck I took Highway 281-52, and it goes all the way kind of northwest towards the portal, North Dakota, and the border with Canada. On the Canadian side it's called North Portal, Saskatchewan. So this mine, it's a crazy place. Like in Carrington, diesel was surprisingly cheap. It was like $3.71, even at Tesoro, like no name station, cheaper than in Fargo. But here diesel is $3.91. Because this is kind of I guess the beginning of this oil craze area. Gas is more expensive, diesel is more expensive, and you see lots of trailers like this. I feel like those big dumps. All the trucks are real dirty. Like a lot of trucks are covered in mud because they work, you know, off-road. So like this guy here is a Volvo with this kind of trailer. So, you know, I wouldn't want my truck to pull this kind of thing, because that means you're always driving, you know, probably on gravel or dirt roads. And that guy has lost his bumper already. So I think you'll probably have to put a whole bunch of money in your truck, you know. Maybe replace it every 3 years. Oh, anyway, so what I did, I just my broker is Livingston, and on their website they have a nifty feature where you can punch in your PARS number, like my customs reference number, and I can see if it's accepted by Canada Customs or not, if it's on the system. And I punch in my number and it says shipment data not available. What? So I call Livingston and I send everything to them by email, and when I did, I received a confirmation from their computer, like automatic response saying that your documents have been received. And I just looked up when, and it says the message was dated 23 hours ago. So that's helpful to know, because the first stupid question all these customs brokers ask is, when did you send in the paperwork? You know, or which number? You know. So I said, so she asked me this. I called the number at customer support. And when did you send the paperwork? I said 23 hours ago. And I have the confirmation on my computer. So what's going on? Why am I not cleared for takeoff, so to speak? Because if I show up like this at the border, they will either send me back or they will tell me park the truck and go see the broker. And then of course today's July 4th. I know it's US holiday, but I'm pretty sure that probably Canadians near the border are all shut down too. And now she says, oh, we were waiting for the confirmation, now we just sent an email, yeah, we have your paperwork, when are you going to cross? How far are you from the border? I said, well, less than 2 hours. Why didn't you do it before? I wrote on my paperwork, ETA to the border July 4th, 11 a.m. just to be on the safe side. I always try to put an earlier time so that they don't lose my paperwork. And, oh, we're just waiting for some confirmation. You know, I said, well, that's why I sent you all the paperwork yesterday when it was July 3rd, not a holiday. Today it's much more difficult to find people because it's a huge holiday in the States, right? But at least these guys, they're, I was calling Canadian branch of Livingston, but the shipper, the broker, like the freight broker, you know, Landstar, they're not working today. And she says, well, I apologize. Well, you know, you're gonna be okay. Just check back in half an hour. I said, okay, so I'll go to the border, and I know they're parking there near duty free. I'll just stop there and check my email and go check that, use that parts tracker again. But the problem with the border is that, you know, between two countries, like, even though my phone is good for both Canada and US, but it's always either switching either in one signal or trying to find the other one, and the reception is not the greatest, you know, because it's constantly switching between Canadian provider and US provider. And the same is true for internet access. So just for you guys to know, next time you're in a bad spot, you know, with customs, and they ask you to make a call or do something on the internet, just, you know, check your signal first. It's always bad, always. Anyway, time to rock and roll, because I want to cross the border, and then I still need to do about 300 kilometers. Probably I'll reach what's the name of the town? Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which is just northwest of the Canadian border point where I'm crossing. Well, I'm at Portals, North Dakota. This is a duty-free store. Time to check my bars again. Okay, Verizon up. Let's see if there's a signal here. Like I mentioned before, normally at the border I run into some trouble. Now the field on the top left would show the signal strength. I usually put it here. That's my secret spot, because otherwise, if I don't use this book, all this stuff shakes and vibrates and opens when I drive. See, I have the same thing here. These plastic things are really useless here. Okay, then we connect the USB. That's how it charges. Alright, come on, give me some signal. See, it's still searching. And the light is, okay, it's green. That means that, oh, it's green and purple. That's not good. It should be green only. Well, I put the jetpack high over there near the window, because US is this way, right? Canada is that way. So here it wasn't catching enough signal, but after 5 minutes or so it finally found the station, and I hooked up. See, the signal is there. And I went to Livingston website and did my search with the same number, and it says parts shipment acknowledged by CBSA, which is Canada Border Services, waiting arrival. So everything is good. My gross weight is here, 21,773. What is that? Oh, that's probably kgs, the weight in kilograms for the load itself. Well, I just crossed the border about 40 minutes ago. This is a small town called Estevan, Saskatchewan. I had to pay my bill for Verizon Wireless for my cell phone and my internet, and the problem is I have only Canadian credit cards, so in order to put money in my bank account I have to be in Canada, and that sometimes gets me into trouble with American bills. So, but now I was on time, so there's my bank is right down the corner here. I put in the money, but before I went there, today's Thursday, right? In Canada this is not a holiday, and I plan to be in Calgary tomorrow, because from here it's only probably like 600 miles, right? So I'm still gonna be driving, because it's only I think it's like 4 o'clock local time, and it's still, you know, still day, right? I'm gonna get at least to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. That's where the freeway starts, because between here and Moose Jaw, that's 2 hours of driving. That's just 2-lane highway, so I want to at least reach the freeway, and from there it's 6 hours on Trans-Canada 1 to Calgary. So anyway, so I called this guy, because this 60-foot long piece, of course, you cannot unload with a forklift. You need some specialized equipment, in particular a crane. You know, like one of those big trucks that with a truck-mounted cranes. And I look at my piece of paper, my load confirmation, and there's a phone number for the consignee next to the address. And I tried calling them from the border, but the phone keeps cutting off, just like I said before, you know, it loses the signal because there's two countries involved and it keeps switching between two towers. So no one answered. Now I'm about 40 minutes away from the border. I look at my phone and I clearly see there's a good signal, and it says extended network. So I know I'm now roaming on the Canadian network. Well, I don't pay for roaming, but still, at least now my phone is fully, deep inside the Canadian system. So I call the guy answers on like fourth ring. I tell him who I am, that I have a tank for them from Kentucky, and he says, oh yeah. And I said, well, if I'm there, I plan to be in Calgary about around 2 o'clock tomorrow. Will there be a crane? Will you be able to unload me? And the guy says, well, actually, no one told us you were coming. It's the eternal problem in trucking. Can you believe this? Like the agent who gave me this load, the Lancer agent, and his customer, another freight broker. So there's at least two brokers involved here, right? So that guy says, please have driver call dispatch at this number when loaded and unloaded. Daily updates are requested by 10 a.m. Additional charges may apply for late pickup or delivery. So they're telling me to call them every day, and they will charge me money if I'm late. So I send them emails every day, or call my agent, tell them where I am. So they knew exactly when I was loaded, what I'm trying to say, right? So they knew my progress. And I called this guy and he says, well, no one told us you were coming. Oh, really? Okay. So now it looks like, and he said, when are you going to be there tomorrow? I said, well, probably around 2 o'clock. It's not that far. He says, oh, okay, well, then just drop your trailer and we'll try to book a crane for Monday. So that's another 3 days, right? So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or 3 nights that I have to stay in that tundra. So I just booted up my Bell Mobility, the same kind of jetpack I have from Verizon Wireless. I have the same thing from Bell Mobility. Yeah, it looks like this. Only this one is Sierra Wireless, but the same principle. So it creates a Wi-Fi in my truck, right? And it's password protected, so no one else can hook up. So it's real. I grew really fond of these gadgets. So I have one for Canada, one for US. And the funny thing is that the cable came with the Bell Mobility. It charges from the USB on the laptop. This cable came with the Bell Mobility gadget. The Verizon Wireless jetpack came with no cable, but for some reason they have the same port, and this cable fits both the Verizon jetpack and Bell Mobility Sierra Wireless. Unbelievable, But anyway, so yeah, I just booted this up. The signal is good. Went online, sent the email to the agent, said this is the situation. It's not my fault. You guys screwed up. Well, I kind of worded it more delicately, and I said, well, when we drop our trailer near the Mexican border, when Lancer delivers a load in Mexico, we're not allowed to go to Mexico. That's the policy of the company. So we drop the trailer, and someone takes it across the border, and we just wait there, right? I never did this because I'd be afraid that my trailer would come back with steel rims. But I know some guys do it, and they are paid $500 a day when they have to wait. So this guy wants me to do the same thing. They want me to drop the trailer and wait for the crane. So I sent an email to the guy. I said, that's 3 extra days. I request you pay $500 a day for each day of the delay. So yeah, if I'm unloaded Monday, that's $1,500 to this driver. And I said, I'm attaching a copy of the load confirmation, like this one, right, where it specifically requests delivery day July 5th, tomorrow. So, right, so it's not my fault. I hate these games, but that's what often happens in trucking, so you really have to push them, They don't want to work properly, they don't want to inform other parties of your arrival, someone has to pay. This is not a kindergarten, We're all grown-ups here. We're trying to make money. So Now I am at Flying J in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and you see the Black Eagle. That's an International 9900. And geez, I just had a very interesting talk with this young kid, and he's just a company driver. And this is Saskatchewan, right? So I'm going west, so the next province is Alberta. So this is Western Canada, where, as we all are led to believe, lift axles are a crime, right? So, and if you remember my videos before, when I talked to inspectors, I even stopped once at in Alberta on this TCH1, Trans-Canada one, and I asked the guy about this, and he says, well, sometimes we see these trucks, you know, US trucks with lift axles kind of lost, you know, we give them a warning, but if we catch them again, like next time, I guess they make a note somewhere, he says if we catch them again, we give them a ticket. So imagine my surprise when I'm backing into this spot and I see this guy waiting for me, and when I backed in there was a spot next to me, and I look at his truck and I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, his truck, this black 9900 International, has a lift axle, like a small tire. It's probably, I don't know, just maybe 12,000 pounds, not the big one I'm used to like seeing in Ontario, but still, he has a lift axle, and his trailer, he has a flatbed trailer with 3 axles, but in the very back he has a lift axle, and all these lift axles are up. And this is Saskatchewan. They have the same rules here as in Alberta. So I looked at his truck, you know, I didn't want to, you know, pound the guy for information, but I saw on the door it says Lethbridge, Alberta, and that totally freaked me out. The guy is from Alberta, his company is from Alberta, and he has lift axles, so I just couldn't stop myself. I went over, I said, boss, I want to have a word. So I said, how is it that you have lift axles? So I said, I was thinking of buying like a lowboy, or if you remember my old videos, I was thinking of buying a, you know, RGN lowboy and or a new truck with, you know, lift axles. And I talked to these inspectors, and they said, well, we'll basically put you in prison if you show up here with a lift axle. I said, what's the deal? How can you run with the lift axles if you're from Alberta? He tells me this. Now, don't tell anyone this, because this should be between you and me, you know. But the deal is, they allow Alberta trucking companies to have lift axles. So basically, if someone tells you no, just punch that guy in the face, okay? I don't care if he's from Alberta or Ontario or Texas. They allow lift axles, but these lift axles can only be used in US, and that's what these guys do. In Alberta, they have a pretty high rating no matter what, because if you know, Western Canada, like even like on a tandem, on a truck in Ontario, we allowed 18,000 kgs, which is like 39,000 pounds, you know. It's much higher than in US. So we don't need lift axles in Canada most of the time, because if you get illegal, you can get much more, but if you get a permit, oversized permit, overweight permit, you can still get much more, right? So, and that's the deal. So they put lift axles for the time when they, let's say, they pick up some heavy machinery or something heavy, you know, like a load of metal, and they're okay in Canada, but when they cross the border in US, the ratings per axle drop, and that's when they deploy that lift axle, either on the truck or on the trailer or both, you know, to kind of compensate for the loss in the weight ratings on the US side. So it's legal. That just changes some things, you know. So that means that, let's say, if I were buying a new truck, I could buy a truck with a lift axle, you know. That would be really great. That would be really useful for a step deck work or for future lowboy work if I, you know, luck out on a used RGN, maybe somewhere at an auction. So interesting. It's amazing what you can learn at truck stops. Thanks for watching. Be safe.